My name is Laura Jones, and today I'm going to give a presentation to you about community building in schools. And I would like to do a little bit of a comparison between two different models. One is a Maltese model and one's an American model. So in each of these models, trust building in the community starts very early within schools, public education in particular, and we'll be addressing a study in Malta that's been going on for about 30 years now, and their promotion of emotional literacy. And in the United States, we'll be addressing something that's derived from restorative justice and is applied to American schools in the form of restorative discipline. In the United States, we can see what happens when trust building in the community is not fostered in schools. Julie Klein wrote a book called The Bully Society, where she talks about that in great detail, not only the interpersonal aspects of bullying, but the kind of climate that creates that sort of environment. And a lot of it stems from the individualistic nature of the society that we live in America. In the absence of trust and social awareness, it's what we see. So she discusses the state of being alone, or isolation, that's a result of the bullying culture. And among the many negatively impactful results of bullying, a lack of trust. This is one of the most difficult to bear, isolation. Children who divulge themselves to others oftentimes become the fodder for gossip, and what it teaches them is socially devastating. She says students hope to find friends, people they can trust and rely on, and instead they find that with one wrong move, they are excluded, isolated, and teased. So what they learn is that it's immature to trust others. In the Maltese approach to emotional literacy, Goldman, Meyer, and Salovey define emotional literacy as the ability to perceive accurately, to appraise and express emotion within the self and others. Well, expressing emotions within the self, but appraising emotion is something that's an intrapersonal as well as an interpersonal process. Access and generating feelings which facilitate thought, so just kind of personal reflection on feelings, understanding emotion and emotional knowledge, and regulating emotions to promote emotional and intellectual growth. And they really recognize the main 5 aspects of emotional literacy as knowing the feelings of yourself, having the ability to empathize, the ability to acknowledge emotions in yourself and others, and to address and repair emotional damage. There's a lot of interpersonal focus, and also just being able to better understand the world in the context of emotions. The thing that defines emotional literacy as a little bit different from the term we're more familiar with, being emotional intelligence, is mostly just the fact that it's a continuous and dynamic process leading to a series of competencies rather than emotional intelligence, which is kind of a finite product. So their philosophy, their reasoning behind it, the goal is respect for self and others, acceptance of diversity, which we talked a little bit about in our trust class, development of self-awareness, which is a series of tools, really, and then critical thinking and problem solving. And these two, the last two are specifically, a lot of that is integrated into the interpersonal processes of interacting with others. And Malta is actually, I wanted to just discuss the geography really quickly because it's a kind of a small place and it's unlikely that we really know where it is. I didn't know, I had to look this up. So it's just here, actually. It's a little island off the south of the boot of Italy, and it is only maybe its own country for the past, it's been its own country for the past 50 years or less. It actually has a pretty diverse background and has been overseen by a lot of the different countries in this area until fairly recently. And their application of emotional literacy is public school-wide all over the island of Malta. So it's a pretty widespread and like preventative community measure. So I'd like to compare that to American cultures of caring, where we are in our society because of our individualistic nature. A lot of the stuff that's talked about in the restorative discipline for schools model is really more of a restorative process. There's already some dysfunction, as Julie Klein talks about in her book, The Bully Culture. And restorative discipline is a way of looking at wrongdoing, not simply as a violation of rules, but as a violation of real people. So this is a model that's really about people and not policies. These are the goals of restorative discipline. They are to understand the harm and develop empathy for both the harmed and the harmer. And so this really takes into context the whole situation. Who's involved, what happened, what is a result of the action, and then also to listen to and respond to the needs of the person harmed and the person who harmed. So this is a big active listening piece right here. The two individuals involved are given the opportunity to talk to one another and listen to each other as well. So it's very much a voluntary process that both people have to agree to participate in, as well as some community members. To encourage accountability and responsibility through personal reflection within a collaborative planning process. So the accountability is a piece wherein the harmer is willing to take the accountability for their actions and to address the harm that's been caused. And this planning process, the collaborative planning process, is something wherein the community is involved. It could be a circle of students within a school, it could be a mediation process involving like a counselor or some other specifically chosen members of the community. But everyone sits down together and decides what the best way is to enact responsibility and to reverse the damage done. Another goal is to reintegrate the harmer and, if necessary, the harmed into the community as a valuable contributing members. So it's not a shaming process. It's really a relationship restoration process. And also just to create caring climates and support healthy communities through all of these above steps, and to change the system when it contributes to the harm, which is a fairly accountable model of analyzing the situation, because sometimes it is the situation that's creating the problem in the first place. And the main comparison between these two models is just the timing. The Maltese model is really more on the front end of things. It's very much more a preventative technique. It has been going on as an interpersonal teaching model long enough to be preventative. Whereas American schools, it's really more restorative and reparative. We don't use this model system-wide. This is generally, restorative discipline is generally something that's grant-funded and only within certain schools, such as West Philadelphia High School has been one of the schools, and others. The model is also used in other places, like New Zealand is a place where they're testing it out at this time, but it's definitely more on the back end of things, more reparative. Both models are building trust in the community, and they start at a young age, which is helpful because these people get out into adulthood and then have these skills, and it's definitely one way to build a trust-based culture. So these are my cited works. I will leave that up for just a moment so that you can pause and take those down if you'd like to read a little bit more about trust building in educational communities. Thanks for watching. Bye.